Okay, good. Let's start quickly and don't lose time. I want to give you a short update on some numbers. The OPC Foundation overall is now all about over 1,000 members. That's really amazing. 60% of the members are coming from Europe. I have one more information about that a little bit later. I'm not going through all that numbers. We are in different regions in the world. We have activities like here in Finland for years. In other regions, we are not till now. For example, before I came here to Oslo yesterday and Helsinki here today, I went to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Also there, with all these oil and gas and whatever, there's a huge momentum on OPC UA. They know about OPC UA. Mostly they know about OPC UA as a connector, as a transport, as a protocol. And then they start comparing, should I use OPC UA or MQTT? And the famous universal namespace is also part of the discussion. I'm starting smiling already. But that's what Steve mentioned in his presentation. The normalization of data is, for me, the key of the digitalization. Honestly, I don't care on protocols. I don't care if the data are somewhere centralized, like the universal namespace. If people like it, that's good. It's an architecture, it's not a technology. The key question is, who is normalizing the data and where are the data getting normalized? And I have two clearly answers from that. And these two answers are not... So this is John in the camera here. Yeah, okay. So the key question is, who is normalizing the data and where do data get normalized? And this is what the UNS people not answer. And the clear answer is we, the integrator, normalize it. And I fully understand the business model to go from one to the other factory and customer normalize data. Fantastic, you have a lifetime income, great. But I don't know why the end customers love it. Because I believe we all have to agree internationally, across all political systems, across all countries. We, as the more technical people, have to agree on this is the description of a robot. And it has to be the single source of truth, and it has to be done by domain experts. And this is exactly the concept what the OPC Foundation is doing. We have a clearly separation of we, OPC Foundation, take care on the transport, which is enabled in a very secure way. But others, our partners, are the domain experts, and they come together. They are the gravity center and say, we agreed on this is the description of the robot. And we only have one robot information model to describe all robots of the world. So for me, the answer is it has to be done by domain experts, and it has to be as near as possible at the data source. The flow meter should start and boot, and then the flow meter should expose data to the world. I'm a flow meter, and here are my data. And if the UNS people would say, oh, that's great, we can take that concept, we agree on this. We take normalized data done by domain experts as near as possible at the source, and then we put it to our UNS as a central data pool. Great, hallelujah, I subscribe. But normally that's not what they do. So the key number here is exactly the left lower box. We have over 427 domain-specific information models and other models which we meanwhile converted from Catena X or other models of the world, because OPC UA is the much richer information modeling, meta-modeling language. Erich will talk about Catena X later. You see here that we are growing a little bit less fast, just 9 additional members this year. So overall, we even lost members in Europe. The first time that we lost about 7% of the members in Europe, specifically in Germany and France. So not in Finland, congrats. But economy is under stress in Germany. And then small class D members, a lot of small class D members left. They want to save money, but from a budget point of view, we are really doing great because we are winning some big class A companies like BMW. We welcome really much another automotive end user. And so from a budget point of view, we are fine, but growth has been smaller. Growth in United States and North America and Asia is also stable. In short, the OPC Foundation is, for me, and this is what I'm really proud on, I believe the one and only organization in the domain of industrial automation. There might be others which I don't know, and I'm not talking about that, where OT and IT are sitting together at a table. And here you see Microsoft, AWS, Google Cloud, SAP, Huawei, all are on the board of directors, together with the big OT companies, Siemens, Schneider, ABB, and so on and so on. And honestly, it makes me super proud here to be in Helsinki, but here being in an AWS building, listening to Steve. I think it was the first presentation I was listening to you. So thank you for that. But the OPC Foundation is the ground and the foundation providing this neutral ground and bringing the people together. Give me any other organization doing this. Talking not too much details about the election, but the board is directed electronically, democratically, and on the left side you see all the numbers who had to be re-elected. This time it was really interesting because we have 8 candidates for the 7 open seats. But congrats, Steve, you already got the message before. You are safe. You are another 2 years on the board of directors. And I was also a little bit so, okay, you never know on democratic elections what's the outcome. Okay, so if you get all the slides later, if you want to have pictures from all the people, you get it here. OPC Foundation, and I'm shortening this a little bit because I made this statement at the beginning, we want to have exactly a secure, reliable way to exchange information. It should be completely vendor neutral. It should not only work on the AWS or Microsoft platform, it should run everywhere. And not only on this OT platform, it should be super neutral. And we need a standard which is not only for the manufacturing and the process people do different, and then the energy people do different, because there are some values like the temperature and the voltage which you need on every in every domains, and we should have one description of the temperature, right? For sure, it should scale. It should be internationally recognized. We are not, and specifically some very few German people might think about they can spread out standards from Germany and the rest will just follow. No, that's not true. It has to be internationally accepted. This is what I love on OPC. It is not only an IEC standard, it is also a local standard in China. We just, I'm coming to this, we had published a Chinese success story, but also in North America and around the world. And not to forget, I know all people are more technically in the room, but having a modern IPR, which is protecting you against any suing, is a super hard criteria, a super important criteria for a lot of people to select OPC UA. And obviously this is OPC UA what I'm talking about. Yeah, when I travel around the world, most people say, yeah, I know OPC UA. I've heard about that already 10, 15 years ago. And I say, okay, great. But then they exactly talk about the red bubble. The machine is somehow connected to SCADA MES, and they talk about connectivity. And then they compare it to, yeah, but for the cloud we use MQTT. And I say, hey, great, we also. And so people are not aware that OPC is also here, scaling to here, scaling down to the field, into data spaces and so on. And again, the protocol, the access might be different. All the IT people talk about REST and Open Web API and whatever. And the OT people think, what the hell is this, right? My PLC doesn't talk REST. The meta modeling language is the key. Do we agree on the same description of the information? This is the key. For me, OPC UA is not a protocol. It's a meta modeling language to describe things. Once we have the description, then the rest is easy, because OPC also have built-in transport mechanism, TCP, UDP, MQTT, file transfer, REST interfaces, and whatever the cloud people now might define for the future. And the cloud people, you are the cloud people. Okay, And behind that, there's also philosophy. And sometimes people say, well, but OPC UA is too complicated, right? And I say, hey, I disagree. OPC UA is rich. And it's a little bit, if you're familiar with the Swiss knife, not sure if this is OPC UA or this is OPC UA. You can do it far more rich and complicated, but we from the begin thought we want to solve a lot of use cases. Not only live data, it should also be events. It should also be able to transport static data. It should be able to transport files, right? If you just start and say, oh, this is far too complex for me. I don't have this complexity. I don't need complex data. Hey, my clear warning is, if you start with a too easy tool and too easy gear with not a lot of functionalities, you might run into the challenge that you selected the super easy one, but once upon a time you want to open the bottle of wine and then you can't, right? And then you get rid of this one and you buy another one. And then this is becoming incompatible from one meta modeling language to your next version. While OPC UA is really a rich one, which can be extended, and that's the value. So since 20 years, next year we are celebrating 20 years, OPC UA has not been breaking any backward compatibility. That's a value. Nobody else can put this to a table here. Okay, I'm not talking deeply about field. Peter is here, but we are celebrating, and my congrats here to Peter and his team about a certificate for TOV approval. That's a big milestone, so Peter will talk about that in more detail. I'm also not talking really on all the cloud stuff, but I put in this slide where Erich will talk, I assume, more later on. Because I was reading done, and said, oh wow, congrats to the team. And you can read and download all the brochure here later. And again, Erich is talking much more into details. But I believe most people are not aware of what they have achieved in such a short time. And what I also noticed is that we, from a marketing point of view, have to adapt a little bit. We try to not only continue going to the so-called OT conferences, the SPS show, the Hannover Messe, and others. We have to go to other events where they talk more about exactly IT topics and metaverse and digital twin and cloud topics. Yeah, talking about the key, about the semantic, we are cooperating with a lot of suppliers around the world. And I mentioned already before, OPC UA is just the meta modeling language with included transport and security, being able to do the how do we exchange information. But others are defining the what. What is the content to be defined? And this is where we partner with a lot of other associations. And this slide is always growing. For example, now we have here a new logo from the AWS Foundation. I'm talking in a second about that. This is just about the 10 months. So we had 28 publications, 13 calls for review. This is just an indicator of how active all the groups behind the curtain are. Remember, and I was not explicitly mentioned this, but on my first slide with all the numbers, we had 15 board members. Steve is one, and I'm one, okay. But we have 0 employees. We have 15 contractors, 11 contractors. Peter Lutz is one of the contractors, for example. But we have over 1,100 volunteers. The OPC Foundation is driven by volunteers. It is an initiative from the industry for the industry. And all of this work here is done by volunteers. Nobody gets really money for that. Unless a group is collecting money and say, we want to have an easier life, we are so much busy under daily work, let's collect a little bit money and somebody else is doing the editor job and so on. That's fine, that's really good. I'm not diving into all these release specifications, definitely not. But you see, it is not only asset description of I'm a robot, I'm a weighing system. Interesting, it's also like here global positioning, where you have to find specific assets somewhere. Well, global positioning, when you are outside, it's easy. You take your smartphone and you call the GPS coordinates, right? And then Google helps us to find our way. What are you doing inside the building? How do you tell the robot where he should on his own navigate to find a specific position? Do you want to hard code this or hard implementing, or is there a way to keep it flexible and the robot is finding his own way? And also there are international standards, and they also mapped to OPC UA, which is fantastic because now a mobile robot can, for example, drive in front of specific analyzer devices in medical labs to interact with the devices, put probes inside, get them out, to really run a lab 24 hours, 7 days a week, which helped us in the pandemic to be much more efficient instead of just humans being there working for 8 hours and then getting ill on themselves and so on. Oh, somebody wants to join me? No. So there's a list of all the companion specification of the overview. It is free of charge available in the world. We don't want to earn money with selling companion specifications. And all the companion specifications are available in a human readable format in PDF, but also in a machine readable format. And what I thought yesterday listening to your presentation, here the cloud library is missing because this is exactly only the link where you can manually download something, but not via REST interface, right? And so I have to optimize this slide. So all information models are also machine readable, searchable, with a query. You find them in the cloud library, and Eri is talking about that. I like to just highlight one of the new initiatives, and without going into the details, because we have the chairperson here in the room doing the presentation later. But I was really fascinated on this cooperation here. There is already a companion specification for a battery production cell. How do you produce a battery? Okay. But from the battery, you see, this is not enough. We have to scale information from the battery production cell up to the IT cloud world, because batteries, there's a law that they need a product passport, where both gentlemen will report later on. So how do you scale these data? Who is defining the data? And the people who define the product passport are not the data who are running the production cell. And so how can we align the data, that data types fit and the information fit and the knowledge behind what is the meaning of the variable of the context is really aligned. And so this is why we call the group OPC UA for Battery Solutions, plural, that all these partners, Catena-X, IDSA, IDTA, OPC Foundation, VDA, VDMA, and so on, are cooperating. They're sitting in one room and they're working until it's solved. And that's really brilliant, because they are doing it under the roof of the OPC Foundation, which is really nicely, and honestly also all the other associations don't have that level of cooperation. They have a memorandum and they can cooperate, but they always want, if you cooperate with them, that the results are only published under their IPR policy. And the rules of the OPC Foundation are really on same nose level fair. We treat our partners as real partners. So yes, we need a legal frame, and the legal frame while the group is working is the OPC Foundation and the IPR policy. Nobody is suing. Results are owned by everybody later on. But everybody can publish the results on their own IPR policies later. That's fine. We are not talking today here too much about energy, but there is a huge energy initiative inside the OPC Foundation, and I believe this will be a key for the future, because energy is one of the most biggest challenges of the world here. What I see, for example, Saudi Arabia, yeah, they have enough oil, but they are spending dramatically money on because they know it's limited, on other areas to grow up tourism and so on. Renewables. They also have renewables a lot, yes. Germany, meanwhile, has 60% of renewable energy. It's the first time that there is more renewable energy than the traditional energy till now. But it's not only how to produce energy, it's also how to transform, distribute, store, and consume energy. And next year, Hannover Messe, I already know that three of the working groups announced major announcements and release of stuff. So we will run a smart grid on the OPC Foundation booth, right? Yeah. Eri is talking about Catena X. This is where it's an indicator for me, without diving into the details here. It's an indicator for me that now companies who are doing interoperability in IT business worlds are now also using and trusting OPC UA. It took a while, but I thought, why are they a little bit later, honestly? The reason is the OT world is much more organized. There is an organization for all the robot suppliers. There is an organization for all the weighing systems and for the PLC suppliers. We are super organized in this area. In the IT world, you don't have that. You do not find these mechanisms coming together. There is an association which act as a multiplier, bringing all the people together. And that's why networking and bringing people together needs much more effort in their area. Same with data spaces. We believe that moving data to data spaces, OPC UA is a best choice, because you have normalized data plus integrated security. There's a very active group about artificial intelligence inside the OPC Foundation. They have about 75 members in the working group when they meet. So if you want to learn more about, there's a really nice video on the OPC Foundation YouTube channel. But also Philip Morris published a success story. Oh, and how can I say this now? Because we are sometimes recording is it's difficult. No, okay. So I'm keeping here the confidentiality. But there's one logo of a big cloud supplier missing. He's behind this. So Philip Morris, the story is really exciting. Even normally you are not doing advertisement with tobacco area. So OPC is killing you faster. It's not a good message to the world. But perfectly, we have a look here to the machine itself and to the technology, right? So the end users of the tobacco domain, they come together. And exactly, we're thinking about also what Steve mentioned in his presentation. We need normalization of data. We want to have plug and produce. It should scale from the machine up to the IT level into cloud systems and so on. Wishes. They invited all their suppliers. It was not done by pressure only. It was a friendly welcome. Come to the table. We want to do this. We need to do this. They collected money. They hired an editor. They wrote the so-called tobacco companion specification, version 1. They made prototyping. While prototyping, they figured out that sometimes what you think on a table is not always the best. So they optimized a little bit. And version 2 is now a mandatory standard for the tobacco industry. Mandatory. And if you go and if you read the story, but they also made a presentation also available on the OPC YouTube channel, they say they have so much benefits. They can run the machine much more efficient. They can reduce buffers with material between the machines. So they love AI and they love the underlying OPC UA standardized information. And this is also what you see more and more here with OPC UA in combination with MCP, an AI language to collect information. That's a perfect combination. Okay, if you want to find more information on the web, we made a major update there. It's totally cleaned up. Karl Deiritzbacher was spending some efforts. So you just have a look. You can search for everything, and you will then guide it to the details. You get a list of what group has which chairperson. You can contact the chairperson. If you are a member of the OPC Foundation, you can just participate actively or just in monitoring mode. So you say, my bandwidth is done. I have too much work on my shoulders, but I want to listen on the minutes what's going on, and so when should I spend more attention? So this is giving you a really good overview. Couple of minutes on offerings and information. We updated this OPC UA wall with a lot of facts of our success journey since years. You can download this. For the 2025, it's the first time listed here. Steve, your name is here on this famous wall here, right? So here, there's now new year 2025, and here's for the first time, 5 representatives of IT companies, AWS, Google, and so on, naming all the list on the board of director. It's the first time that OT and IT are sitting together on one table. And yes, the worlds are different. Sorry to say, but the people are different. Now, the people are not different, but they think different. It is... Careful. No, that's fine. The IT people are much more agile. They are quicker on software. They can roll it out. And for the OT world, it is common practice that you do something, it's released, it's tested, and then it has to run for 20, 30 years. Anyway, we are proud to have 3 success stories. We published a lot of companion specifications. A few minutes here on these 3 success stories. Interesting. And it was not designed by me at the beginning of the year, but we have 3 stories from United States, China, Europe. Procter & Gamble, one of the 5th or 6th biggest production companies of the world, with a lot of brands. I believe everybody from you has this in his bathroom and in the kitchen and so on. So every morning OPC is with you. But in China, they are producing about 6,000 watches per day for international brands, other brand companies. So maybe you are wearing a watch which has been produced with OPC UA. And in Austria, all tunnels in Austria, with a country with a lot of rocks, are controlled and monitored by OPC UA. You have about 6 million data points being collected with OPC UA, with redundancy and so on. So really a major project. Obviously, there are multiple more success stories, and it would be great for a Finland success story. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? Okay. So let's agree on that. I'm listening to your proposals. We updated the brochure for sure. That's what I can skip. This is also one slide where I'm asking for a little bit attention. We have training material for the academic world. Also, the companies in Finland, you want to have people who are familiar coming from universities, being educated on OPC UA. Please help us and forward this slide and this URL to your universities, to professors. The material is available in multiple languages. It's even recorded and explained by a professor in English language. And you can steal graphics. You don't have to keep the blue OPC slide master. But we want to help the academic world to have a quicker and better understanding of OPC UA, right? One last slide here on the marketplace, where I like to do a little bit of advertisement, because we noticed that we counted a little bit the clicks, and so just for 10 months, and we figured out that 180,000 clicks within 10 months is the highest rate on the technical content, reading specifications, downloading tools, and so on. Fine. 100,000, 12%, are just asking what is OPC UA, which is for me great. I'm not disappointed, why don't they know about? For me, this is a great indicator because it shows we are growing into other domains and into other areas. Very positive. I would be super disappointed if nobody would ask for this. But interestingly, was also 5%, 50,000 within 10 months. So around about 5,000, 4,600 per month are looking in the marketplace, mostly for certified products. And that's really a good topic. Suppliers in the room, be aware, the marketplace, people are looking inside and they're looking for certified products. And that's my, nearly my key message. This is what you can read on your own. Next year, we have to celebrate, we are allowed, we will celebrate 20 years availability of OPC UA. Has been designed within 3 years only, 2003 to 2006. And then there have been some updates, but we never broke backward compatibility. So next year, I think we need to rent double space. We need a little bit bigger tables. We all can dance on a table. Music, band, drinks, right? Something like that. No, I just wanted to make sure that I'm coming back next year. With this, again, thank you for your attention. It was a pleasure for your attention here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stefan.